I thought this evening, by way of update, and as the update, if you recall our method, we update what's been going on since we met last about a month or so ago, and then we focus in on a particular topic. I thought I'd begin tonight by reading to you something about the particular topic, and going back to the update and wending our way back to this topic. And what I'm going to read to you is selections from a press release put out by the J.P. Morgan Chase Corporation, basically. And this was reported last Thursday, the 13th of January, and is basically a long quotation with supporting information about the lofty words of the CEO of that bank, a man named Jamie Dimon, that some of you may have known because he plays quite a role for the last several years in this crisis, and with the relatively good fortune of that particular bank amidst the debris of all the others. So let me read to you what he said last Thursday. Quote, "A growing number of America's municipalities may go bankrupt this year," end quote. He is warning that more U.S. municipalities will go bankrupt this year than the two that have already done so, Vallejo, California, and Pritchard, Alabama. These are not major cities as far as I know, but they give you an idea of what's already happening. Dimon's prediction echoes earlier statements from Warren Buffett and Meredith Whitney, a noted Wall Street analyst. Then they give a list of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cities in the United States that either are at already or about to go into bankruptcy and could do so at any moment, and I thought you'd be interested in what those cities are. First, Hamtramck, Michigan. Those of you who know anything about the history of the auto industry in this country ought to know something about that place. This is I'm just reading from the press release. The municipality is probably the most likely early contender for bankruptcy. City authorities say Hamtramck will run out of funds on the 31st of January. 13 days, and has already sought official permission from the state of Michigan to declare bankruptcy as a city. Number 2, right next door to Hamtramck, is the slightly larger city of Detroit, Michigan. Also on the, I'm again reading, these are all quotations, verge of financial collapse. In a futile attempt to stave off the inevitable, writes Mike Shedlock at the Business Insider, the mayor has, and listen folks, cut road repairs, police patrols, street lights, and garbage collection in 20% of the city. Lucky people who live in that 1/5 of the city. According to Shedlock, quote, "I believe Detroit will, sometime in 2011, file for bankruptcy as a city." Third, we're moving up the scale of size, Los Angeles, California. It may not happen this year, but former Los Angeles Mayor Richard Riordan says that America's second largest city will be forced to declare bankruptcy by 2014. The cost of retirement pensions for former civic employees is expected to hit almost $1.25 billion this year. And if those costs keep rising, says former Mayor Riordan, the city will go bust. Bell, California, a city once referred to, quote, "the most corrupt town in America," tough contest to win, is in dire financial straits. Bell became notorious for its officials' extravagant pay, faces a $2.2 million deficit. Bankruptcy, says the city's chief administrative officer, is an option on the table. Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. State Capitol narrowly avoided defaulting on a $3.29 billion debt payment last September, has now hired a team of financial consultants to draft a recovery plan. Many city officials want to file for bankruptcy, a move that the mayor opposes. It will come as the decision to be made early in April, reports the Wall Street Journal. Central Falls, Rhode Island. It tried to declare bankruptcy last year, but was forbidden to do so by the state, which appointed a receiver to oversee the town's finances. That state-appointed administrator says a merger with nearby Pawtucket may be the only way to avoid bankruptcy, which means we're going to see the disappearance of towns. So some of you who like to steal street signs, now would be the time to do it. They will become valuable as the memory of these cities and towns disappears. Central Falls only has 19,000 citizens, but needs approximately $80 million to pay for the promised health insurance and pension costs of its employees. And the final town on this list, Gary, Indiana. Although Republican Senator Ed Charbonneau is proposing a bill allowing citizens in Indiana to declare bankruptcy, allowing cities, he has denied that he is targeting Gary. Even so, residents of the cash-strapped city accept that it may be left with no other option. It has deficits of $10 million, says the Indiana Economic Digest, and it would be nearly impossible for Gary to balance its budget in any other way. And now one of my own, just to add, to get the mood in the right frame for this evening's discussion. Today, the city of Camden, New Jersey, announced that in order to stave off bankruptcy, they, I kid you not, laid off 50% of the police department, 34% of the fire personnel, and this has been approved by Governor Christie, who is a work of sorts of his own and is supporting these activities. So what it means, in case you were wondering what happens when a municipality goes bankrupt, it lays off public employees quickly. It stops buying all sorts of stuff. That means the local community, insofar as it sells to the city, which many parts of a local community do, has no more customer, and huge portions of the town are laid off as these employees lose their jobs, and therefore the services that everybody in the community counted on from the fire department and from the police department go up. If you close 1/3 of your fire department, you will quickly get a letter in your home from your insurance company informing you that your rates are going to triple because you don't have the kind of fire department that can make sure a small fire does not consume your home, and the insurance company is not going to take that risk. So there's a kind of proliferating snowball effect of all of this. I cannot remember in my lifetime a number of cities of this caliber being in this situation. The only thing more interesting than the dire straits of the cities and states in this country is the degree to which the impact and even the information about this remains murky in most people's minds, and I won't ask you to raise your hands if all of this is news to you. Last week I was in California, and I listened to the speech of the new governor of California. He's actually a unique person. He's a new governor who is also an old governor. That is, he was governor many years ago and now has returned. Did such a stunning job then that they decided to bring him back. It's either that or the people in between, him before and him now, were so awful that he looked good in retrospect. His name is Jerry Brown. He went on the television announcing how pleased he was to be the new governor, and that his first act was to have to deal with the $25 billion deficit the state of California faces. I have to talk a little louder this evening. And he's proposed a wonderful plan which he's referred to as balanced. Half of the money will come from higher taxes for everybody, and the other half will come from cutting $12 billion worth of public services. And he singled out two in particular that he was going to focus on. The two major cuts: number one, Medicaid. All the medical programs and services for poor people who basically access the Medicaid program, they're going to get cut $1.5 billion. That's a lot of money. One of the things that will be cut, and the ironies here you really have to appreciate, one of the things to be cut are mental health services for the poorest folks in the state. The governor who announced this had 4 minutes earlier asked for silence in honor of a badly unemployed, badly stressed gentleman in Arizona who didn't act nicely. So we had a moment of silence in California to honor Congresswoman Giffords, and then announced that we were going to produce lots more Jared Laughlin's in the state of California. The second item targeted for massive cuts are the university system of the state of California, probably the best public university higher education system in the United States. $1.4 billion cut to the community colleges, California state system, and the University of California system, which will seriously damage all of those institutions. So the state of California, largest state, typically a leader in this country for all sorts of things, trendsetter, is setting another trend. Massive tax increases and massive service cuts. Now, before I update you on the economy, just a word about this to make sure we're all on the same page. We are in an economic crisis characterized by people with not enough money to maintain their mortgages and losing their houses. 1 million were thrown out of their home in 2010. 1.5 are scheduled to be thrown out this year. We have an unemployment level staying at 10% if you count only the adults looking for work and not finding it. If you add those who are involuntarily part-time and those who have given up looking, the official rate published by the Department of Labor is 17.5%. 1 out of 6 Americans are in deep trouble in terms of jobs. In response to this situation, the state of California is massively cutting services and raising taxes, and in the process depriving tens of thousands of people of work. In other words, the response of the state of California, which will be replicated everywhere, including New York, is to make the economic conditions worse. When an economic system functions in this way, you either have to cry or laugh hysterically. But something is extremely wrong here. Camden, New Jersey, for those of you who have never been there, is a trip you ought to take. It's a little bit like going to Detroit. You cannot believe it until you see it. To imagine that Camden, New Jersey, which already holds many records for crime, prostitution, drugs, you name it, is going to lay off half of an inadequate police department and a third of an inadequate fire department. We're now leaving the realm of discourse and debate, and we're going into the realm